Well, it's great to have all of you with us today. My name is Chris, one of the pastors here, and I just want to give a warm shout out to everyone across all of our locations, those of you at North Central, Grampian, Clearfield, DuBois Downtown, DuBois Hill, Ridgeway, and all of you online. We're one church right where you are, and we're in this final part of this series titled Shift, Opt for the Exceptional. And I kicked off this series kind of circling around these three words, I want to. And for all of us, we all have I want tos. I want to lose weight. I want to get in shape. I want my career to soar. I want to be financially stable. I want to have a thriving marriage. I want to be engaged and connected with my kids. I want to accomplish my dreams. Right? We all have I want tos, don't we? Some of those I want tos are extremely, extremely important. And other I want tos, well, they're not as important. You see, for years and years and years and years, I've wanted to experience Groundhog's Day on Gobbler's Knob. It's been this burning desire, and then all of a sudden I find myself living 40 minutes from Punxsutawney. I'm like, God, it's a sign you want me there. Then it dawns on me, whoever thought about putting Groundhog's Day in February in Pennsylvania should be shot, figuratively, right? I'm like, that's a horrible idea. February in Pennsylvania, but I still want to. Like, at once, I just want to experience it. I want to see them lift the rodent out or whatever a groundhog is. I want to. So this year was going to be my year. It was on my calendar. I was watching the weather report. The polar vortex was going to pass. I'm like, this is my year. Finally, I can cross it out off my bucket list. But then my week crashed in on me. I mean, the week got crazy. Saturday was getting closer, and I'm like, I just don't think I'm going to be able to go. And I felt the disappointment because I want to, but I didn't think I was going to be able to. But then I discovered something. I discovered that just like here at Tri-County Church, they live stream Groundhog's Day. I was like, what? I mean, we have the phrase here, one church right where you are, right? We have people around the country, around the world connected right now online, one church right where you are. I'm like, I can experience Groundhog's Day from the warmth and comfort of my home. I'm like, one groundhog right where you are, it fits. So I woke up Saturday morning. I didn't have to put on a coat and a big fuzzy hat. I just sat there, the warmth of my house, and I watched them take that rodent, groundhog, whatever it is, out of the hole, out of the stump, right? And here's the thing, right? I had to find out how accurate the groundhog was. And do you know, like, someone actually wasted time, their precious lifetime, to figure out the groundhog has 39% accuracy. So yeah, spring's not coming early this year. Zero chance, right? We want to. There's a whole list of I want tos. You have a list of I want tos that have different impacts on our life. There's some very important I want tos, some groundhog not important I want tos, but we all have I want tos. But here's the thing, we all understand with I want to won't shift you to the exceptional life God intends for you. And God intends for you to have an exceptional life. God has designed you to have an exceptional life. God has destined you to have an exceptional life. But just because you want to doesn't guarantee you to shift you to experience that exceptional life. And I get that some of you right now are like, hey, Chris, but my life right now doesn't feel exceptional. Well, it's another truth we looked at throughout this series. You can live an exceptional life even when life isn't exceptional. Because for all of us, Life is the 10% that gets thrown at you, gets thrown at me. Life is a 10% of the unexpected. Life is a 10% that is unjust, unfair. Life is a 10%. The other 9%, well, the other 90% is up to you and me. How we respond to the 10%. 90% is how we react to the unjust moments in life. 90% is how we respond to the 10% that don't treat us fairly. The 90% is, well, what we decide to do. But so many times what we do is we flip these percentages around. And we focus and we just say, well, it's 90% that gets thrown at us and I only have a 10% chance to do anything about it. No. It's not the other way around. We have such an incredible opportunity to face the 10% that comes our way and take the 90% that's within our grasp and do something about it. And that's why your choices are so important. Your decisions are so important. So we've done something fun throughout this whole series. Every weekend, we've given you choices, and we put polls up on our website and just encourage people to vote for a decision, vote for a choice. And this has been fun. Like one of the things you all were able to vote for was for what football jersey I would have to wear during a weekend service. And so the two options at first was I would have to wear a Steelers jersey or a Cowboys jersey. And then the three Philadelphia Eagles fans complained. So we included the Eagles on that. I think only two of them voted. And so I was kind of shocked. I just want to be fully transparent here. I had no influence over the voting, and the Cowboys jersey won by a landslide. Thank you. Again, I did not influence the voting. There were no hanging chads or anything. Another weekend, we had all of our locations help write a song. You were part of helping write. It's a #1 smash hit. We did it Mad Lib style, and so Brennan had the unfortunate or fortunate opportunity to try to take all of these words and phrases and actually write a song. And if you've gone to our Facebook page, if you haven't, you can find the song on our Facebook page. It will change your life, especially the very last phrase of the song. But you were part of making those choices, making those decisions across all of our physical locations this weekend. The choice was buffalo chicken dip. And here's the thing about buffalo chicken dip. I had never heard of buffalo chicken dip until I moved to Pennsylvania. And it has changed my life. Whoever came up with buffalo chicken dip, they should get like an Oscar or some prize. Like they should get something. Buffalo chicken dip should be its own food group. I'm just saying. And so we have that for all of our physical locations. I know all of you online right now are like, we don't get buffalo chicken dip. No, we haven't figured out how to send buffalo chicken dip through Wi-Fi yet. That technology has to be coming someday. But, so if you're online right now, the first person to type in the two teams playing the Super Bowl, you win buffalo wings. So go right now, you get buffalo wings. And I know the rest of you are like, no, we want buffalo wings. Too bad you get dip. Right? So you've been part of all of these choices, these decisions. And here's the thing. Your choices today will follow you into tomorrow, which will reveal your past. If you wonder how you got to where you got to in life right now, well, your choices today follow you into tomorrow. Then one day you're looking back going, how did I get here? Well, that's how you got to where you are. It's such a simple truth, but so many times we ignore it because why? We want to focus on the 10% that's unjust, the 10% that's unfair, the 10% that was out of our control, and we want to look at the 10% and apply all 90% to it. No. That was only 10%. The 90%, your choices. The 90%, your decisions. The 90%, how you respond. The 90%, how you react. The 90% today will follow you into tomorrow, which will always, always, always reveal your past. And that's why this series has been so important, Because we're all making choices. We're all making decisions. The question is, are they wise choices? Are they wise decisions? And that's been the central theme for this series. Helping to make wise decisions. In the book of Proverbs that we've been kind of anchoring this entire series to, the book of Proverbs, this ancient document filled with wisdom on how to make wise life decisions, choices. We learned that there's two groups of people, wise people and fools. And none of us want to be called a fool. But yet, we have this habit of making foolish choices, decisions. But wise people who make wise decisions, they realize that to live a life filled with wise choices, wise decisions, well, there's two critical components of living a wise life. They're actually having wisdom, knowledge. That's knowledge and wisdom that comes from just living life and coming from other wise people. But the second piece is critical. It's the discipline piece. And there's two actions that gets attached to this word discipline. It's correction. And none of us like correction. None of us like sit there and think, oh yeah, bring on the correction. I can't wait for more. But no matter what your age is, we all need correction. And then the other action is strict practice. And it's both of those that go together that make up this word discipline. And so we need wisdom, knowledge, and action, correction, and strict practice. And those pieces together will make up how to make wise choices. And so there's one more component to how to live a life filled, guided by making the wise choice. There's one more piece that is just foundational. And if you will put this into motion in your life, I'm going to tell you, your choices that you make today, that will follow you into tomorrow, that will reveal your past. If you put this one piece into play, it's going to help you make wise decisions. Now, we're going to look at this fable, the story, still in the book of Proverbs. Solomon, the wisdom writer, is going to tell the story. And as he makes his way through the story, there's moments that it just feels like it's a fable. It's a fictitious story with this moral principle attached to it. But there's moments that I just have to question. I just have to wonder how much truth is wrapped into this story. And it almost feels like, because the detail is, well, it's so vivid that it almost feels like that maybe like Solomon pulled this story out of his own personal life, or maybe it was a close friend that he experienced with, and he was like, I'm going to tell your story. Right? It just feels, again, there's just some detail that just feels like this is more than just some fictitious fable story that with a moral principle or truth attached to it. But as we make our way through, there's going to be a lot of great insights. But there's one insight that I think is the driving purpose of this fable. There's this one insight that I think is the foundational principle that we have to pull out, but it's kind of hidden. So you might catch it. If you don't catch it, I'll make sure, don't worry, I'll highlight it. But there's one principle that I think is a foundational principle that we must include into the rhythm of our life so that we can continue to make the wise choice, the wise decision. So let's jump into the story. At the window of my house, I looked down through the lattice. So get this word image, this picture. Solomon is standing, maybe he was on the second story or the third story. He's looking through a window down onto the street. And he saw among the simple, I noticed among the young men, a youth who had no sense. And a better way to translate no sense is he had no heart. He was lacking that inner quality, that inner depth, that inner wisdom. And so he sees this young man with no sense, and he was going down the street near her corner, walking along the direction of her house at twilight, as the day was fading, as the dark of night set in. Now, if we don't go any further in the story, and I handed you a blank piece of paper and say, you write the rest of the story. Where do you think that the story is headed? Young man headed to her house, to her corner. I mean, if you've never opened the Bible before, you could finish the story right now. Because in your mind, where you think the story's headed, it's headed that place. Even if you've read the Bible from cover to cover, I'm just telling you, and you don't remember the story, you know where this story is headed. It's not going to be filled with surprise details. It's not going to be filled with a surprise ending. Exactly how you think this young man headed to her corner of her house, exactly where you think the story is headed. It is headed that way. But in the midst of this early part of the story, Solomon kind of points out some details that again is some wise principles. Because as he quickly lays out this story, well, we find out that this young man, well, he was alone, and it was getting dark, and he was headed to the wrong place. He was by himself. Night was setting in. Headed to her house. And think about your life. Your life. Think about one of your regrets. One of those things that you're like, man, I made a mess out of that. Think about something right now that has its tentacles just wrapped all around you. And you know. No one needs to tell you, you know. If you don't figure that out, if you don't get rid of it, it's going to ruin you. And I'm pretty sure one of your regrets, one of the things that has its tentacles wrapped all around you right now, has a combination, at least two of these three, if not all three. In high school, I would always push on my dad to try to get, my curfew extended, especially, when I made my way into my junior year and especially my senior year in high school. And I would always go to my dad and I would work every angle with my dad to try to get curfew extended. And my dad would never say yes or no. He would just look at me every time I came to him. He was like, hey, Pops, just 30 more minutes. I would have some reason, some excuse, some great story, like 30 more minutes. Can I just a little longer tonight? And my dad, again, wouldn't say yes or no. He would simply say this. He would say, son, does anything good happen at dark, especially after curfew? Infuriating. And now as a dad, you know what I find myself doing? The same tactic. It's brilliant. But as a senior in high school, he would just then stare at me. But dad, my friends and their parents are going to be home and just 30 more minutes. I promise you I'll check in. And he would just, again, not say yes or no. He would just look at me and say, hey, son, does anything good happen? Dark, especially after curfew, and then stare. The stare is brilliant, by the way. Parents, I'm just telling you, you should perfect that. I use it all the time now. My girls hate it. But we know this. Our regrets, I'm just telling you, this is a formula. If not all three, at least two of them are part. There's a book written called The Principle of the Path. It was written by a guy named Andy Stanley. Andy is a great leader. He's a pastor of a church, a multisite church, very similar to Tri-County. And he landed on this one thought, this one phrase that is, so memorable, but so true. He said, direction, not intention, determines your destination. You see, intention is the I want to. That's what intention is, right? We all have good intentions, good I want tos. But intention never determines destination. It's always direction. The steps you are taking, the decisions you are making, the path you are following. And direction always determines your destination. If you want to know how you got to this place in life that you find yourself in right now, guess what? You just have to look back. And every decision, every choice led to where you are. And if you want to blame it all 90% on everyone else, again, your percentages are reversed. 10% is what happens to you. 90% is how you respond to it. So this young man's out for an evening stroll, and then came out a woman to meet him, dressed like a prostitute. And here's the thing, several thousand years later, this word image we all get. Think about that. This one word image, thousands of years later, we all go, I know how she's dressed. With crafty intent. And Solomon wants to make it clear what he means by crafty intent. She is unruly, meaning when she came out of her house, she was loud, she was boisterous. Everyone knew she was out of her house and defiant. She was rebellious. She didn't care what anyone else thought of her. She didn't care what anyone said about her. She didn't care about anyone's looks and glares at her. She didn't care. Her feet never stay at home. She was on the prowl. She was looking for someone specifically. Now in the street, now in the squares, at every corner she lurks. She was ready to pounce. She was ready to ambush him. She took a hold of him and kissed him, and with a brazen face, nothing was going to convince her otherwise. She said, "Today I fulfilled my vows, and I have food for my fellowship offering at home." Now this first statement, we gotta translate a little bit. Because, several thousand years later, right, this gets lost. Dressed like a prostitute, we all get that. But this gets lost. So let me translate this into the day and age we understand. You know what she's saying? Today, I went to church. That's what it's saying. Today, I went to church and I prayed. Today, I went to church and I sang. Today, I went to church and I raised my hands. Today, I went to church and listened to the message. Today, I went to church and read the Bible. Today, I went to church. Today, I went to church and I confessed. And my bucket was filled. But I went to church and I emptied it. So now I get to fill it again. Today I went to church. And we can tell she's wealthy because she brought her food offering and she had extra. She had excess. She's like, I have extra. And then she said, so I came out to meet you. I looked for you and I have found you. She was targeting this young man. And here's the thing, and we don't know from the story, but we have to assume that they had talked before. We have to assume that this wasn't their first conversation. We have to assume that they'd been kind of building a relationship over time. We have to assume because this young man set out to walk towards her house on her corner. He knew where she lived. He knew what she was up to, and she had seen him before. Like, this relationship had been forming over time. And she comes down and is like, I looked for you. I found you. I've covered my bed with colored linens from Egypt. I've perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's drink deeply of love till morning. Let's enjoy ourselves with love. There is no questions about her intent. That blank piece of paper that I said, finish the story. Exactly where you thought this was going to go. And then she reveals a piece of information that is new for us reading the story, but this young man was fully aware, and of course she was fully aware, because she says, my husband, dun, dun, dun. My husband is not at home. He has gone on a long journey. He took his purse filled with money and will not be home till full moon. Translated, we're not going to get caught. He's not going to know. He's gone. And you might be wondering, well, I wonder why their marriage was in trouble. Maybe because he had a purse. I don't know. It's a theory, right? Right? He's like, hey, you're not. So now he has a decision. This young man has a decision. It's fully aware what she wants to do. But he knows she's married. And I think there's a list of possible actions. Because he knows it's wrong. There's no question about right or wrong. He knows it's wrong. So I think there's a list of possible other solutions. And instead of just taking her up on what she wants to do, I think he could have come up with some other things. Like, for instance, he could have looked at her and said, hey, your husband's gone. I can come over and help fix things around your house. That'd be a nice thing to do. Now, we're not going to go into that whole Egyptian sheet, cinnamon, myrrh thing. But I'll help fix things. Or maybe he wasn't real handy. Maybe he was a budding chef. And he goes, I'll cook you dinner. Not like romantic candlelight dinner, like microwave dinner, right? Like, he's like, I'll cook you something to eat. Or maybe, because she's lonely, let's watch a movie together. Let's do that. But you sit on one couch, I'll sit on the other couch. We'll have two separate bowls of popcorn so our hands won't meet. We'll create distance, but I know you're lonely. Your husband's gone. He's lonely, so we'll watch a movie together. Or maybe we'll just sit and talk. Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about your marriage. Obviously, there's an issue with your marriage. Maybe I could help you with your marriage. Or maybe he could have just looked at her and goes, you need to go back to church. You need more church. I mean, right? A whole bunch more church. Because if you just came from church and you're dressed like, you need. But here's the thing with all of these possible decisions, choices. Here's the direction hasn't changed. The direction is still towards her. The direction is still right along her path. And maybe his intention would have been, no, you're married. I'm not going to cross that line. But every one of these decisions still head towards her. But this is what we do. Whatever that thing is right now in your life that has its hold on you, or maybe it's so close. You're inching closer and inching closer to the line. This is what we do. And we try to fool ourselves thinking, no, I'm not going to cross the line. I'm not going to cross the line. But we inch closer, and we don't change direction. This young man had one decision only, to run. It's the only decision. So let me ask you a question. What do you need to run from? Right now. What do you need to run from? What in your life right now? Because you know the end of the story. If you keep on the path you're on, you know the end of that chapter. And you have one decision to run. Have you gone from just having a drink or 2 drinks a week, and now it's a drink every day? And you know where that path is headed because you've seen it in other people's lives. You know it only has one destination. And you keep telling yourself, no, I got control. I got it under control. I got it under control. But here's the thing. Intention is never going to change your direction. You got to change your direction. And maybe right now, today, you go straight home. You go right to where you have it all stored, and you just throw it all out. And yeah, maybe your husband and maybe your wife will go, "Oh, what are you doing? It's hundreds of dollars. Or your roommate looks at you like, no, just give it to me. No. You throw it all out. Why? Because direction, not intention, leads to your destination. Maybe right now, you're forming a relationship with someone who's not your husband, not your wife. And maybe marriage is struggling, it's stressed right now, and all of a sudden you found someone else that you can share anything with. All that leads to is destroying your family, your marriage. That's the end path to that. And what you need to do right now is run. You need to defriend that person, even if he gets mad at you. You're like, no, I got to cut it off. You need to run to your wife, run to your husband and say, there's a friendship that's teetering on the dangers. I'm calling it out. And maybe you're thinking to yourself, Chris, I couldn't say that to my husband or my wife. If I told them that, they would get so angry. Yeah, they will get angry. But here's the thing. You can save your marriage. What do you need to run from? What do you need to run from? There's something. And remember, don't fool yourself. It's direction, not intention. It's direction, not I want to, that determines your destination. Well, what do you think this young man does? With persuasive words, she led him astray. She seduced him with her smooth talk. All at once, he followed her like an ox going to the slaughter, like a deer stepping into a noose, till an arrow pierces his liver, like a bird darting into a snare, little knowing it will cost him his life. Cost him everything. Cost him everything. And then Solomon, well, he's going to start to mold this moral principle. He says, now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. Do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her past. Many are the victims she has brought down. Her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death. Again, these are the decisions. We know. The thing you know you need to run from, if you don't run from it, it has the same ending. But like I said a few moments ago, there's a foundational principle that is kind of hidden into this fable, the story. And maybe you caught it, maybe you didn't catch it. It's hidden. It took me a few times reading through it to really kind of suss it out. And it's right at the very, very beginning of what Solomon, how he started the story. You see, he started the story by saying, at the window from my house, I looked down. What's interesting is Solomon, standing at his window looking down at this young man, he could see clearly the path he was on. He could see clearly the decisions that he was making. He could see it all clearly. And I just think for a moment, what if Solomon would have yelled down at this young man and said, hey, you're going for a walk? And he would look up at Solomon and was like, yeah, it's sun setting, I'm going for a walk. And I just wonder if Solomon would have said, hey, let me join you. Or I wonder if this young man said, hey, do you want to walk with me? Now he wouldn't be alone. I wonder if Solomon looked down and he saw where he was headed. He knew because he had seen him walk this path before, and he just knew about this relationship that was forming, and he knew the dangers around this relationship. And I wonder if Solomon's like, hey, I made extra dinner. Why don't you come up and eat dinner with me? I wonder if Solomon would have looked down at him and said, hey, bro, come on. Don't walk down that street. Walk down any other street. I know where that street heads. You know where that street heads. You know who's at the corner. You know her intent. Come on, bro. Don't go down there. You know where this is going to lead. I just wonder. You see, I think this is the most important principle. You see, I asked this question earlier, right? What do you need to run from? And this is such a critical question, but you can't stop with that question. There's one more question that gets attached to, gets tethered to, gets anchored to this question, and you must ask both questions. Who do you need running with you? Because we all need people running with us. We all need someone up in a window looking down at our life from a different perspective who says, that relationship is unhealthy. Those nightly decisions are unhealthy. Your work schedule is unhealthy. Your hobbies are taking so much time away from you being mom or being dad. Your presence with your kids are more important than. We all need people outside of our lives looking into our lives saying, take a time out. This is where that path goes, and you're headed towards destruction. We all need to run from something, and as we're running from something, we need someone running with us. We all need it. And that's why every weekend, across all of our locations online, we gather people together. And just know what we do on the weekend isn't the most important thing we do. The goal of our weekends is to help all of you to take a step out of a row or out of watching online by yourself into a circle of people. It's why life groups are everything to us, because God has designed us to be in relationship with people. God has designed us to run this race called life together. God has designed us to be connected to each other. God desires for us not to be alone, because God knows we need each other. And you can sit there like, yeah, Chris, but I've had people hurt me. Remember, 10% is what comes at you. 90% is how you respond. We've all had people hurt us. We've all hurt people. I'm just telling you. We're not designed to do this race alone. And we all need someone who's willing to look at our life and go, that path, I'm telling you, danger, danger, danger. And who's willing to journey with us. So here in a few moments when we're done with our time together, you're going to have an opportunity to take a step into a life group. And I just want to encourage all of you, at least have a conversation with someone. We have incredible teams of people at all of our locations wanting to help you take a step into a life group, out of a row, into a circle. At least have a conversation, because remember, direction, not intention. Direction, not I want to. Direction will determine your destination. And we need people to help us make wise choices. So, your wise choices today will follow you into tomorrow, which will reveal your